Hey everyone, welcome into another edition of Behind the Tapes, unhobbled, unbridled and unbiased. Nice to be back talking harness racing again for another week. We've got a bit to dissect this week. Andrew Fitzgerald, nice to be back joining you. Looking forward to sinking the teeth into what's been a busy news week in the harness racing world.
Yeah, great to be back, Maddie, and ticking over 8,000 views last week. So really cool to see that just keep on ticking up. And as you said, big week of news this week. Obviously, we're going to touch on it a bit later on, but the racing calendar for next season came out, and plenty to talk about into that. But we'll go through a wee review of last week's action. And hey, we started off pretty good on our best bets with Silk and Daisy Hill both winning comfortably, and from there it was downhill, to be fair, for the rest of the meetings. But yeah, no, two really nice wins. Silk just led them and run them again, and Daisy Hill was just too good for them. Another runner there on the cards, winning off 55 metres. Pretty big runs there, Maddie, and at Invercargill, Racing Minister and Bardo. Well, that's, we started off with a hiss and a roar, and Invercargill on Thursday might have been to show us that it was only down from there, because Racing Minister beat in a nostril, and so was Bardo, both beat in a nostril. But well, that's the way it swings, and a really nice debut trotter there that you saw.
Yeah, close both those runners at Invercargill on Thursday last week. Thought Racing Minister was home until that one angled off its back, and probably thought the same about Bardo turning for home as well. So them's the punches. You got to roll with them. Would have been very happy with the $3.10 for Silk when it found the front on Thursday night. It goes around again tomorrow night at Cambridge, looking for 3 in a row with Alicia Harrison on the bike. Good chance again the way it's going. So get excited about that. That's probably the thing, Fitzy. If we don't strike the first week, they generally come back and go pretty good the next week. So put them in the black book and keep following them. But yeah, a really impressive debut performance from a 2-year-old trotter. Love in the Port from the Phil Williamson stable. It's a big effort for a 2-year-old to go against a big field of maiden trotters, do everything right, and just win with a bit of authority, as Matt Cross would say. Nice type. Going to go on and do a really nice job. Kept a big weekend for Keith Usher and Sylvia White. They picked up a winning double as owners. One at Invercargill with Love in the Port, and then they were successful at Addington on Sunday with a Rockin' at the Park from the Kerr stable. So a good weekend for them. You know what you get with Phil's team when they go to the races. They're generally pretty talented. What has been quite noticeable in the past couple of weeks, Fitzy, is the amount of 2-year-old trotters that he's had at the workouts and trials. And a couple of them wearing the colours of Emilio Mary, sorry. And they had a winner at Invercargill on Thursday as well, with Ultimate Stride just going beast mode. He looked good when Matty let him slide down the back and he found the front. He's into $6, I think, to win the Dominion. Second favourite behind Winterfell. That market opened in the last 7 days, so you can jump onto tab.co.nz and have a look at that. So big effort from Ultimate Stride. Nice performance from Love in the Port. But could be the start of what's been a very good few months for Emilio and Mary. Fitzy, and I know you want to talk about that a little bit more.
Yeah, really good run for Emilio and Mary. Ultimate Stride, well, in my opinion, he's our best 3-year-old, and he's right up there with our best trotters. And I think the Williamsons just have a grasp on those 2-year-olds, especially. I think they had 4 at the Ashburton trials a couple of weeks ago that are all nice types. And the 3-year-olds between Phil and Brad, I can't see anything jumping out of the ground to beat Ultimate Stride and Cracker Hill in the form that they're in at the moment. What do you think, Maddie?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to watch those races unfold. The 2-year-old ranks has actually got some depth to it. When you look at those horses that have been going around the last couple of weeks at Addington, we talk of the nice ones from the Greg and Nina Hope stable, Eurocash, Time in a Bottle and Co. And then you go and add, Lana Reina Del Surf from the Purdon stable, Mexicana. They've had a host of them at the workouts and trials as well. So usually with the 2-year-old trotters, it's a case of there's 2 or 3 that stand out head and shoulders above the rest. But we could be looking at anywhere from sort of 6 to 8 horses who are more than capable of winning any races, and that makes for intriguing racing. So manners are a big part of it, but those trotting ranks, I know we touched on it either last week or the week before, there's plenty to get excited about at the moment in that particular gate. And as we build towards some of those feature races that are going to come into the calendar next season, and of course towards Cup Week and the Dominion Handicap, I think we're going to be talking a lot more about the trotting ranks in this country at the moment. And of course, from an Australian point of view, we saw McLovin win on the weekend. Now, we know that he was brave enough to come over here last year for Cup Week. Things didn't quite go right for him, but talented horse. And so, yeah, looking forward to seeing what unfolds in the next few months. And there we've got another nice trip going around this week at Addington, which includes the return of the enigmatic Inhine from the Greg and Nina Hope stable. He was a late addition to that Dominion handicap market that's been released around the $12 mark. He goes around this week. Ricky May takes the drive. So, yep, looking forward to seeing what unfolds in the trotting ranks.
Yeah, the trotting ranks just keep improving. Speaking Australian trotters, a really good 2-year-old over there for Emma Stewart, Utopia. It blitzed them the other day at Shepparton. I think they're comparing it to Alpha Male, who's a very good trotter over there, and of course Elite Stride, another 3-year-old over there that's been winning all the big races over there. So another one for big supporters of the industry, and Emilio and Mary Rosati. So yeah, I think the trotters are just, and they probably have been for the last couple of years, as the races to watch. Some of those Dominions have been fantastic viewing, whereas, you know, not to say that the New Zealand Cup's been dominated, but the trotters is just wide open, and I think the trotting numbers at the last conference, everything trotting numbers bred and all of that was all up. So yeah, no, it's definitely making a bigger resurgence, and probably deserves to have a bit more money. I know money's tight at the moment, but a bit more money thrown at it, because we've got some really good trotters being bred over here at the moment, and yeah, it just continues to improve anyway. So hey, at Addington, speaking trotters, Cocky Milk, he made a pretty nice debut there for Ken Barron and Blair Orange team. I think Ken thinks he's going to go quite through the grades and be a pretty handy trotter. And young junior driver Corbin Newman just continued on the winning role. Kensington Bill, a nice winner there. I think that's 5 or 6 winners for him since lockdown and since joining Robert Dunn's team. So great to see that young kid kicking goals.
Yeah, he's come a long way, Corbs. The driving of his has improved remarkably, I think, since lockdown. He's driving with a lot of confidence, and that's often the case with those young junior drivers. They need a couple of good horses that they can slide forward mid-race and get up to park and not be afraid to sit outside the leader and give him a bit of an eyeball. You know, a horse like Hayden's Medal, who he won on, was a perfect horse for him to get on, because you can drive him with a bit of confidence and keeps fighting. But yeah, that association that he's starting to build with the Dunn stable is going to stand him in good stead for next season if that continues. You know, 5 or 6 winners since lockdown came back. So he's been the big mover and the shaker in the junior driver ranks, Corbin. And yep, he's earmarked for good things in the coming 12 months. So good to see some new faces coming onto the scene and doing a good job. So yeah, well done to him. And yeah, Cocky Milk was very, very impressive, I thought, on a Friday night. Good night for Blair, good night for Ken, good weekend for Blair, full stop. But when isn't it a good weekend for Blair? Usually he's in the winner's circle 5 or 6 times. So would have been incredible on Blair to see where he would have got to in terms of a winning tally for the season had COVID not hit, because we would have been looking at a new record for wins in a season. I've got no doubt about it. And I would even hazard a guess that they may have got over that 250 mark quite comfortably. So quite remarkable to think. No signs of slowing down either. He's driving winners left, right and centre. So, yep, plenty of good action over the weekend that we witnessed. Fitzy?
Yeah, for sure. Blair just continues being Blair, doesn't he? Winning races everywhere. And hey, Corbin did make a wee quip at me on Sunday that maybe he could be a late addition to the Junior Drivers Premiership market with the 6 winners, but no, he's a big chance next year if he continues up that form in that association anyway. So on Friday night, Nigel Armstrong, along with myself, we went and caught up with Sarah O'Reilly, Sheree Tomlinson, John Morrison and Ben Hope to discuss the up and coming, obviously the race to the Premiership and their seasons.
We've caught up at Addington with the leading junior drivers, and it's tight race battle, type battle. How are we going to explain that? It's a close thing. It's a close race. Quite right. First off, what we need to know from all you guys is who are your sponsors, and we'll start with most important.
Westview Racing.
Of course.
Woodland Stud.
Morrison Saddlery and the Fat Duck Ashburton restaurant.
Is that still? I thought that after your last interview that you had got banished from your sponsor, pulled out on you.
Oh yeah, no, he just sulk every now and then, but he's come back all right.
Well, he's going to love that comment. So, and Ben.
Reg Storer at Storer Motors.
Okay, so it is obviously a tight battle out there. What drives have we got coming up? Where are we going for the next? Is anyone travelling? Is anyone going that extra mile?
Oh, just here on Sunday, and then Invercargill every Thursday for the next while.
Right, so you're going everywhere?
Yeah, just a bit of everywhere.
Ben, what are you up to?
Oh, no real plans really, just Addington Friday and Sundays. No drives this weekend, but hopefully we have a couple of drives next week.
Sheree, where are you up to? You're not sneaking, you'll be going down south?
Yeah, Sunday, and then obviously back down south every Thursday, so hopefully keep picking up the drives down there, and there's a couple down there that are knocking on the door, so hopefully they can pick a few up in the next month.
Oh, excellent. Sarah, what are you up to?
Well, I don't have any drives on Sunday, but might be going back down to Invercargill on Thursday and then just back here on Friday.
So we'll catch up with Harry Trotter over here. Give us the odds there. Who's in contention here? What are we thinking?
Yeah, it's been a pretty interesting market, to be fair, since the boys at the TAB opened it up. A bit of money for Ben and a bit of money for Johnny, and actually every driver's been back, so it's been really good that there's been a lot of turnover there for them, and I think they're pretty happy with how it's going. So Johnny's into favourite. After the other day, he had quite a good book of drives this weekend and still a few good ones on Sunday. Obviously with Ben not having as much, and probably Sheree just not having as many drives as the others, has played that market out that way. So I think Johnny's about $1.75, Ben's out to $2.30, $2.40. The others are a wee bit wider out than that. But look, to be fair, at this stage, without any miracles happening or anyone picking up a big book, it's probably a two-horse race in my opinion. But they're all quality drivers that with a good book, they can come out and win it. So hopefully everyone out there is driving in and backing their favourite driver, and putting a wee bit of money through the tote.
Yeah, well done, by the way, for getting a book open on this. But more importantly, I think the unhinged sort of guys, I think they should open a book on an arm wrestle or something, because that would be fun.
I'll win that one.
Oh, you'll win that one?
Yeah.
Oh, that's fighting talk really there, Sheree.
Yeah, that's fine.
Right, the dark horse and the arm wrestling would be you. But
I wouldn't want to take on Sarah, but I'll take the boys on.
Yeah.
I might have to shoe another 10 next week, and that might get me a bit stronger, I reckon.
Ben, you're the tallest of this lot.
Yeah, I look pretty weak, but don't go too bad at it.
Don't go too bad at it. So no one's out chasing the drives. You haven't been to John Dunn and said, get rid of that Corbin and get me on, no?
Oh no, to be fair, he's going pretty good. So even if they asked, I'd say it'd be a strong no, I'd say.
Yeah. And Dylan Ferguson, obviously up in the North Island, is just no chance. Is that it?
Oh well, I don't know. He seems to be training his own team with Rogie there, so he might have something under the blankets about to come out. You never know. So it's a good old race.
Yeah. What have you got? There's nothing out there. Who have you tapped up there? Have you been on it? You're still in with a good chance here.
Yeah, no, I've got my loyal Southlanders, and hopefully we'll have a few trotters still to step out in the next month. But hopefully just keep chipping away. You haven't
tipped Kieran out and said, no, look, just give me the drives?
Yeah, contemplating it.
Yeah, and more important, how's the battle going with Squirt with Jared? Are you winning there, or?
Yeah.
You are?
I am, I think.
So what is the competition? What's up there? So the winner does the dishes for the next year again, like last year?
Or he could shout tea for once, would be good.
Shout tea for once. Well done, guys. It's obviously going to be a close battle out there, and Fitzy, your show's a real winner, and good on you for doing it. I really, I've watched it. I've been backing your tips, to be fair. Auckland was stunning. How are you going tonight?
I think we're still to come later on, JR Bromick and stuff like that. So hopefully they get a winner in Majestic Action in this. But no, it's been pretty good. Up to, I think we're over 7,000 views for this week. So we're just trying to fill the gap and get a bit of content out there, and talk about a few things that most people don't talk about, and not be scared of talking about it. So
No.
it's pretty good.
7,000 last week, me and there's top the 10,000 this week.
I
I'll
think
be
so.
picking.
Yeah, we might get right over the 10.
Yeah. Well done, guys. Junior Drivers champs, obviously, that's coming to Addington. It's coming to Methven as well, isn't it?
Oh yeah, that'll be good.
So we're all involved here. Everyone, yep. You've all
The
qualified?
majority, yeah.
Yeah.
No, it'll be good. The champs is always good. Just go. It's all comes down to who gets the good drives and who drives them all properly. So that's not usually me. So anyway, we'll see how everyone else goes.
And you're not scared of obviously any of those North Island drivers, too?
Oh no. We're in our own territory. We're fine.
Yeah. Well done, guys. Thanks for coming along tonight. Appreciate the. Cheers.
So a big thanks to Nigel Armstrong for jumping on board and helping us provide that content. Of course, you can check out all Nigel's stuff on Harness Unhinged. Him is doing some great work there, Nigel, and he's a candid man. He doesn't mind asking the funny question and getting a bit of a laugh. And if you go back through some of the stuff he did with Matty Cross a couple of weeks ago was outstanding. So big thanks to Nigel and a big thanks to the junior drivers for jumping on board and having a chat. That market's changed considerably, Andrew, in 7 days. John Morrison moved into a warm favourite with the weight of drives that he had over the weekend. A lot of placings for Johnny, but no winners. I hope we haven't put the cop wash on him. But no real winners or no movers across the board in that top five. So talked to Matt Peden today about that market. John Morrison's now into $1.65. And that's just based on the fact that it's getting harder and harder with the weeks going down for someone to catch him. Last week I spoke about how keen I was on John Morrison to win it, and he was about $2.40 there. Leave me out of the $1.65 because it only takes one good weekend and it's a whole game changer. So, look, it's going to be a bit of a changing market, this one, over the coming weeks, because if Ben comes out and has a good weekend this weekend, picks up a couple of winners, we're all square all of a sudden, and then you're $1.85, $1.85 probably. And Cherie's still right there, and she has a couple of moments of luck and gets some winners over the board. We know what she's capable of in the kart when she gets going. So the 650 about her is appealing. And Sarah O'Reilly, I've noticed, is starting to invest in heading down to Invercargill as well. So I know she's a long way off the mark, but Crandall Getty and Nathan Purden have got some nice horses coming out of the woodwork. And if Sarah picks up a few of them and picks up a few winners, well, who knows what's possible. So that market now $1.65 for John, $2.40 for Ben, $6.50 for Cherie, Dylan Ferguson at 26, and Sarah out to 51. So Corbin, 251, I think, any other driver. So if you think he can have a really, really big month, there's a bit of value in that price at 251, that's for sure.
Yeah, a bit of value in that price at 251s for any other driver. But hey, last week we said if you were going to have a bet on John Morrison, it was probably that time to have it. He's $2.50, I think, when we spoke, or $2.40, and now into, as you say, $1.65, no value there. In the clip with Nigel, obviously, I'm pretty big on saying it's a two-horse race, but just looking through the fields, Cherie's picked up a couple of nice drives, and there's a couple there from obviously her grandfather Ken Ford's that aren't far away from winning. Honey's son, if it can do things right, it's going to pick a win up pretty soon. So she's only one off them. And last week we thought, Ben or Johnny, they were going to get a win at least, and it didn't happen. So it brings Cherie straight back into it. And yeah, if she can pick up one this week, she's even, and she'll close in. So no, it's a very interesting market, and it's had more moves than I don't know. It's had more moves. It's been moved left, right, and centre, and it's keeping those boys in Wellington pretty busy. So no, it's really good to see, and 3 weeks left for the countdown. So it's going to be an interesting viewing over the 3 weeks.
I think the term is more moves than a learner's heat at Chertsey on a Saturday, Fitzy. If you've been there and witnessed those, they tend to get going at the winning post every time, and they go past that winning post a couple of times as well. So more moves than a learner's heat at Chertsey on a Saturday morning, we'll say.
Yep, we'll put it down to that, and we'll move on as I can't get that out the words out of my mouth, like I'm tripping myself up now. Hey, into a couple of things that we wanted to touch about that we thought needed to be addressed, and the first is we're going to talk about suspensions versus fines, and what we want to talk about there is a recent case that a driver was fined $200 for excessive whip. And then the RAU had appealed it, and he's now got a copped a 3-week suspension, 3-day suspension. But because he's a Southland driver that doesn't travel, it's obviously going to take him 3 weeks to get that out. And Matty, you've got a bit more. You've done a few maths on what it costs them compared to the 200. And before we go into it, this driver is agreeing that he did break the rule. He did ask for a fine over a suspension, but has been given a suspension which is worth what, the maths that we've done. It's worth a lot more, and it's come at obviously a tough time with COVID-19 and the build back from that, and being a trainer in his own right and having no income for quite a significant period over that COVID-19 lockdown. I think it's a bit tough, and I think it hasn't been handled well, to be fair. Matty, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that's probably the best way to put it. It hasn't been handled well, and it's a bad outcome, considering what was initially handed down. Look, I don't think there's any reason to hide it. The driver involved is Craig Ferguson. The cases are on the JCA. It's public information, and I'm sure Craig won't mind us talking about it. But what really concerned me was that in the initial JCA report from that race meeting, he was fined that $200. That was the amount that was agreed on. Now, there was an element where there was some, not rules passed, but I guess you could call it legislation that allowed the JCA to take into account the impact that COVID had on licence holders. Now, the ROU, and let's be clear here, I'm not being hypercritical of the ROU, but I just think the system's a little bit flawed. JCA handed down a $200 fine. Now, it was a second offence within 6 months, which usually equates to a suspension. That's fine. However, taking into account COVID, I felt that the $200 fine was within a reasonable fine for the offence. The ROU have appealed that decision from the JCA, and what's equated as a 3-day suspension for Craig, as you said, Andrew. Now, doing the maths and looking back through the racing since we were resuming from lockdown, Craig's averaged about 4 drives a race meeting. So losing driving fee of around $80 takes his earnings without any potential stake winnings on top of that to $320 a day. So to take him out for 3 race days, which is 3 weeks, as you said, because we're only racing once at the moment down that part of the world, and Craig's travelling up into Canterbury to drive, it equates to $960 on average for that suspension in terms of a monetary value. Now, it used to always be based on the number of drives that a person would have that would determine how many days their suspension went for. So, for instance, if you were comparing it with a guy like Blair Orange and he was facing a suspension, you would find it would only be 1 day, because that would equate to that sort of thing. And I think that was a fair way to look at it. Now, I feel like Craig's been really hard done by here. Potential earning from driving as a nice wee boost to any particularly young horseman who's trying to make a name for themselves in the game. The $200 fine I thought was fair and reasonable, whereas now you compare it, we've now gone $760 more than the original penalty handed down on the law of averages based on the number of drives. I just don't feel like that's fair on the horseman. And something needs to be done to address that until we get back to a more fluid racing model where there are more opportunities for these people to earn money. As Craig said in his case, which you can read on the JCA website, it had been a tough time. He trained at a public training facility, so he had to turn all his horses out during lockdown, which meant that he wasn't able to charge owners as much as what he normally would to have their horses at work. So, look, it's an individual case, but it's a case that could strike a lot of people and catch them out. Probably not so bad here in Canterbury where there's 2 meetings a week, but I just felt that it was one that we needed to bring to light, because unless you're actively pursuing that JCA website, you don't often see those things. And anyone who'd noticed Craig's not driving over the next few weeks, that's the reason why. So I just felt that it was an unfair penalty, considering what was handed down and deemed to be sufficient enough at the time of $200 to then equate it, to put it in a dollar value on the law of averages to 960, just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And I know that we're big on horse welfare at the moment, but we've also got to be looking after the people that are out there giving us the racing product, and that's the horse people. So, I just felt that was a wee bit of a miss, and just wanted to bring that to light and put it out there in the public sphere.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you, and it's a bit of a rough go on him. When I spoke to him, he was happy if the fine was expected, when he asked for a fine for 400, 500, and as he said to me, I'd rather be out there driving and my driving fees basically driving for free and my driving fees going to pay that fine off than sitting on the sidelines, because as you've said, $960 on average for 3 weeks out, but it's also the percentages he's missed out on. So if he picks up a couple of winners, there's another $200-300, and it's also trying to get those drives back. After the 3 weeks, you don't drive for someone for 3 weeks, and I know he's got some loyal supporters down there, Rob Wilson and the like. But even still, you put a driver on and they start another driver on, and they start doing a good job, or they win on him, or they run second or third. It's hard to drag them off. So it's actually got more repercussions than just the money missed out on by the driving fees. So I think it's something that should be maybe cleaned up a wee bit. And I feel like if a driver wants to take a suspension or wants to take a fine, that it should really be the focus of it. I know we've got to deter people if it's happening over and over, but second fine like that, especially in these COVID times, surely there was a wee bit of room to move in there. But it's done. But hopefully it can be changed. Well, I don't know if this one will be changed, but hopefully in the future something like that doesn't really happen again, or is taken and fixed in a different way. So that's probably enough about that one. But we both thought it was a bit rough on him, and we're hoping to see a little tweak and a wee change there. And the big one of the week, Maddie, is the racing calendar for obviously the 2020-21 season, and the return of your favourite, Forbury Park, the return of a few other tracks, and the closure of some that, in my mind, don't make sense when we compare them to some others. But we could go on about this all day, but hey, we'll have a wee crack about it, we'll have a talk about it, and we'll try and create some positive discussion about it.
Yeah, look, I'll just start out by saying that when the calendar came across my desk and I looked at it, I was genuinely shocked. When the draft calendar was released, it seemed pretty certain that we were going to have some pretty wide sweeping changes across the harness racing industry in terms of venues that we race at. Not popular decisions, and you could argue about the merits of some of those places continuing to race against the disadvantages of them racing until the cows come home. But at the end of the day, those dates are back, and it's now in those clubs' hands to make that work and show both HRNZ and Rita, or whatever it's going to be come August 1, that they are deserving of maintaining their dates going forward, not just the next season, but the season after that, and the season after that, and the season after that. What probably surprised me the most, Fitzy, was that when you broke it down, there actually wasn't a lot of change. Now, and I put this on Twitter, and I said, look, it's just been a waste of time, really. We've gone through so much, and there was so much, emotion and anger, and a lot of work done behind the scenes by clubs, and then turned around and everything's back, from Westport and Reefton getting their March dates back, to Roxburgh being back in Central Otago, to Palmy, to Te Awamutu and those sort of things. The logic behind it is a wee bit surprising. One thing that I do want to touch on, and one that I'm really disappointed in, is for the Geraldine Trotting Club. Look, I've been going to that place since before you were in nappies, Fitzy, I guess you could probably say. It was a second home there for a while. Workouts, trials, race meetings, Geraldine are a good club, and they're a good club that have for many, many years attracted big crowds onto their race course. Sure, it's a little bit antiquated. Mark McNamara used to fear having to walk up into that commentator's box through the little cage, but that added to the feel of that race meeting. It was a true country race meeting. They've got a great committee, a proactive committee. They're financially sound, and their one date a year has to come to Methven. It just doesn't make sense to me, but it's the far-reaching impacts of that decision that have me really, really worried. Now, I'm a part of the Mount Hutt Trotting Club, which of course is a subsidiary of the Methven Trotting Club, separate entities, but we work in together. With Methven's increased race dates, Mount Hutt workouts, which are, let's be fair, a staple in the workout and trial scene in the Canterbury area, particularly from a grass track point of view, will not be able to happen in the new season to the volume of which they have been for the past 20 years. With that track now holding 9 race meetings scattered across the season, we'll be lucky if we're allowed to hold one lot of workouts or trials a month. Now, I haven't talked to anyone from Geraldine, but I would imagine that without a race meeting, there's not much point in them holding workouts and trials and paying to maintain that track. So therefore, the onus goes on Mochikarara to hold the majority of the grass track workouts and trials in the Canterbury region. Now, they've got a big bank of race meetings as well. So how do we work this? Are we trying to push everyone onto all-weather racing and away from those country meetings and the grass tracks, where it's a proven track record that the grass tracks are some of the most successful meetings that we hold in any given season, whether they be a 2-day meeting at Te Aranika or a 2-day grass track meeting at Cromwell. It doesn't matter, but we are seriously disservicing a big part of the industry by this decision. If Geraldine had stayed for that date, they would have probably been more than happy, and hey, they may still do it, to have those workouts and trials. Now, we're going to miss out on those, and I know, because I commentate the workouts and trials at Methven and sometimes at Geraldine, that they can get anywhere up to 100 horses on any given Saturday or Sunday morning. Where are those horses going to go for their grass trial run? You know, it's not as hard as going to Ashburton when you've got to peel off a 55 half just to keep up. Interesting situation. I really feel for the Geraldine guys. I really, really do, and girls, I should say that. So, look, the dates are what we've got. We've got to work with them. But, look, the next 12 months is going to be critical going forward. And I would hope that there's some pretty serious discussions happening behind closed doors to hopefully, how do I put it, temper some of the relationships that we've seen come out in the media in the past week between Harness Racing New Zealand and clubs, because we've got our governing body putting their hand up and saying we didn't want them to get their dates back, but Reader have overruled that and given them their dates back. So that doesn't make for an appealing, tenable relationship between the governing body and one of its clubs in terms of race dates, one of its major race clubs. So interesting times ahead, Fitzy, but at least we now have a calendar to work towards, and we know that come August 1, this little system that we've got ourselves into of adding Auckland or Cambridge, Invercargill and Addington twice a week is going to change. Variety's the spice of life, and I'm looking forward to being able to go to the races at some different racetracks in the near future.
Yeah, I definitely echo your sentiments there around Geraldine. Spent a bit of time down there and working with Brett White, and Geraldine workouts and trials were, you know, paramount to his training and always well attended. And even their cup days was very well attended numbers wise. Stakes were high. Yeah, it baffles me. And we've spoken exactly about what you just said there. Where are they going to trial now on the workouts for grass, and where are they going to trial for grass tracks? You know, with Methven jumping up, as you said, you'll be lucky to hold 3 or 4. And if you get any rain during those summer months, well, you're in trouble to hold workouts and trials, let alone the race meetings, aren't you? With so many race meetings, so I felt like Geraldine has been very hard done by. I would have liked to have seen them maybe keep one date, which was their cup day, and make it the big day it is, which is always well attended. In fact, the young people in Geraldine and the surrounding areas treat it like the New Zealand Cup Day of their area, and then hold it and keep it as a workout and trial track as well. And that's what I would have liked to have seen. And yeah, I'm a bit baffled about it, as you say. And yeah, I don't know what's going to come out of it. Obviously, we're set in stone now, but it's still, yeah, it's odd. And further down south, Forbury Park, well, it's back, Maddie, 10 meetings. As you just touched on, HRNZ, it wasn't even in the plan, and now they've jumped back to 10 meetings, 9 at Forbury Park, 1 at Wingatui. They've brought out a plan there with a development. They've sold a bit of area down the home straight, just the grass area, to a housing development. I think they are saying they got over $1 million for it. So and the plan with that $1 million seems to be to develop their buildings that they've got there. But with these 10 meetings, as far as I'm aware, it's just for next season, and then on performance they'll figure out what they're going to do from there. So obviously that you would hope they're not going to rush in with that money and upgrade the facilities if they don't keep kicking. But yeah, 10 meetings there for Forbury, and hey, it's good for them to be back for the local trainers and drivers, but the next year and their performance, it's going to be what's going to decide if in the 2021-22 season they're still kicking.
Yeah, I think, and I've always felt like Forbury's got a place within the industry. It serves a purpose. So I will say I was quite pleased to see Forbury get some dates back, because it is a niche market down there, and while it's a bit of a stretch, when the majority of the horses are potentially coming from Canterbury, it's a long drive down, but people look at it with a bit of humour and a bit of fun. We're going down to Forbury again. So their destiny's in their own hands. So they're the ones that have got to drive this and make it work. And I see some encouraging signs out of that club. The past 6 months, I've seen some really positive stuff coming from there. So to them, keep up the good work. You do deserve a place in our industry, and whatever that is in the future is now up to you guys. The industry will still support you, and there will still be horses that want to go to Forbury, even if it is only for 10 meetings of the year. But I'm interested to see what they can do with those developments and with the dates that they've been given, because it's a tough one. No one wants to see clubs close down. Forbury's got a special place in my family's heart. It's where Dad found harness racing, jumping the fence on his way to school and things like that. So I take the sentimental value out of it. I think it's got a place, but things have got to improve.
Yeah, I agree with you, because I think it was a bit. I know COVID hit, but I felt like it was a bit rough on all these clubs that it was straight. And I know we needed to do action straight away and cut costs. And as you mentioned earlier on, it's odd that we were going for big reform, and now we've sort of come back on it, a fair bit, and now we're sort of, where are we? We've got a, in my eyes, a trackside production crew now that is well down on what we had before. We've lost big names: Greg O'Connor, Mick Guerin, and Craig the Whale Thompson. Well, there's our three big guns for harness racing turnover. And love him or hate him, Mick Guerin, he does huge work for Australian turnover and New Zealand turnover on our product, and drives interest with all the radio gigs and all those media stuff he does over there. It just portrays back onto our harness game. So we've lost those three big guns out of trackside, for what? So what cost? We've cost cutted to get us back to our stakes, but now we've gone from chopping 6 or 7 tracks, and now we've given 3 or 4 back, and so where are the cost cutting coming from? We could go on about it all day, Maddie, and I feel like I don't want to keep on going about it, but I feel like if we go on about it in one episode and cover most of the things, then we can let the work be done, in the background, and we don't have to keep going on about it, because I don't like sounding like a broken record about it,
Yeah, I agree. Look, the loss of those 3 guys that you mentioned, and even to go further, Davey Mack, Jason Teagues, all those people, they are critical to the success of our industry, because they are the front people. We're sitting here doing a weekly online show, but I mean, it's nothing compared to the work that those guys do. And I've been lucky enough to see, Grego and Mick in full flight at work, and the passion that comes in. But on the other side of the coin, I've seen the work that they do before they even step foot on a race course. The knowledge that they've got, and that they can draw a punter in to listen to a conversation about a horse and convince them that they want to back it. But where do you stop? You go radio trackside, fields and fields and newspapers. It's like we want to get back to the same level that we always have been at, but we're going to do it without all these great marketing tools that we've got, and it's an area that I could talk about for hours, because it's my passion, the media, the promotion side of things of the game. And I get, the heckles go up a wee bit, so I probably shouldn't, because I've been a little bit angry tonight as it is. So look, I reckon we could touch on that next week, Fitzy, the media and promotion side of the harness racing landscape at the moment. We've got some good tools there, but they're not being used in the right way. So I think that's a discussion for another day, before the old face goes a bit red in anger.
Yeah, definitely. We'll leave the marketing and promotion chat for another day. But hey, while we're here, do we want to touch on Southland, Wyndham and Gore? I feel like we should chat about them, because recently in the media, obviously Gore has lost. They're moving onto the grass track for one meeting, and Wyndham have been given one meeting, I think it is, and have to be held at Invercargill or Winton. They've now, by the sounds of it, want to leave Southland Harness and become Eastern Southland Harness, I guess would be the name, or the name, and combine as two to fight for their clubs, obviously, which is, hey, well done on them for fighting on their clubs, because I was watching some figures the other day on turnover and stuff like that, and Wyndham's near one of the top turnover tracks in Southland, and possibly the best track in Southland. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, I would have it right up there. I think Winton's a very fair track as well, from both a punting perspective and a racing perspective. Look, I never like hearing that sort of news that, you know, clubs are breaking out and doing their own thing. That Southland harness model for years has worked better than anything else this game's got in New Zealand. You know, it's well managed by Jason Broad. You know, the clubs are collective, and ideally you want to see them all working together to find a really good common ground that's great for the game in general. Good to see some of those dates going back. You know, the Roxburgh meeting was one that I was quite happy to see back, because I do get down to that circuit every year, and there's nothing quite like sitting on the back straight at Roxburgh and watching them go to war as they go into the back straight. You know, great experiences, and you know, it's a whole new racing market down there. They're not people that go to the races every couple of weeks. You know, they go there once a year and they just love it. So yeah, that, and the other one we probably should touch on, Fitzy, is the return of the Manawatu, the mighty Manawatu. I know they put some big work in up there, and they're confident of being able to deliver a really, really good product. So again, it's a bit like football. It's got a place. You know, hard yakka for the likes of Scotty Dixon to travel up from Bulls like he has been to Cambridge every week to race his horses. You know, Scott's team's expanding. You know, you've got a good core base of trainers in that area that deserve to have some local race meetings where they can really, really target with their team. So that was good. I was pleased to see that back, because I think Manawatu does have a place and it serves a really, really good purpose. And I actually enjoy the racing from there. I think it's tactically really, really good. And I remember having a chat with Blair Orange about the first time he went and drove up there. He said it took him 5 or 6 races to get a grasp on the racing pattern there and how to drive the Manawatu track properly. And well, once he figured that out, the stats would show, he hasn't really looked back. Probably drives it better than anyone else does. So big changing landscape, Fitzy. And as you say, we could go on and on and on about it. But you know, we're just going to have to watch and see what unfolds over the next 12 months and see what these clubs can come up with. The main thing I want to see is some open transparency from our governing bodies about, you know, the movements that are being made. I know the clubs will individually handle their own, you know, promotional tools and talk about what they're doing within their membership group and things like that. But, you know, the industry's got a vested interest in this and deserve to know what's going on. So the more communication we're getting about what's happening behind the scenes, the better, I think, going forward. Yeah, communication is key, and keeping us all informed so we can be on the same wavelength as who's running the ship. In my eyes, if we're all working towards the same goal, we're better as one, you know. And as you touched on, Southland Harness, great model it has been, and it's a shame to see, you know, something like this cause, you know, a wee bit of fraction in there. It's not confirmed if they're going away, but you know, it's definitely caused fraction in a really strong group. So it's disappointing to see. But as you say, those circuit racing, you mentioned you go to Southland. I often try to get over to the West Coast and that Nelson circuit. And I feel like that's a really, along with the grass track circuits, is something that could really be promoted more. I know this is getting into the promotion thing, but it's good to see Roxburgh, you know, keeping that circuit alive and the grass track. We're going to have a lot of grass track racing, so hopefully we can build that into a nice circuit, and obviously Westport and Nelson staying. So you know, it's good to see those circuits remain, and it's similar with Manawatu. You know, it's quite often a circuit of they have a lot of racing and then they have a wee break. You know, every fortnight they usually have those dual meetings and then into it. So you know, hey, they're all back, and we've had a discussion about that, and there'll be a lot of different opinions out there, and no doubt some people will like what we say and some people will disagree, but
hey, that's what we're here for, to drive a bit of discussion.
Yeah, and if anyone out there's got their thoughts, make sure you leave them for us, because it's interesting to know. As I said last week, we can sit here and think we know everything and that we're talking about the right things, but you'll tell us whether that's correct or not. So engage in that feedback. I think probably, Fitzy, that's enough dissecting on some of the news subjects we've had this week. Another racing week ahead of us. We've got 4 race meetings kicking off with Cambridge again tomorrow night. I went through the form there today, and I think I've found one in race number 5, number 12, the Greenkeeper from the Todd Mitchell stable. 550s at price tonight. Was third behind that bolt-away winner, Ulterior Motive, last week. And I know it's got a bad draw, but I thought it was a big chance. What did you find for us at Cambridge tomorrow night?
Yeah, actually, I settled on one. I had 2, so I'll tell the punters 2 because I couldn't split them. And race 3, number 1, Romanee, one of Graham Rogerson and Dylan Ferguson's runners. He was really good on debut. He crossed from out wide. I think he drew 6 or 7 and crossed to the front, trailed and was only beaten a short way. And then last week he just didn't get into the race and was out the back, and yeah, he didn't have a chance. So this week he's drawn barrier 1. He's got gate speed, over 2,200 metres. He's open for 80. He's already into $4. So that's showing a bit of confidence. And if I'm allowed to, I'll tip another one, which I think is worth an each way bet, is Nimah Franco, ex-Terry Smell runner up in the north, just spending 1, maybe 2 starts with Jason Megan Tees as it waits for a flight to Australia. But I think it's a step down on what she probably raced down here. So yeah, she's $7 and a nice bet. So that's that's what I reckon at Cambridge, Matty. But Invercargill, hey, you sent your ones through earlier and we actually agreed on one. Race 8, number 6, Chuckles.
Yeah, just thought it hasn't had probably the greatest of luck in its last 2 starts. It was really unlucky 2 starts ago, and then just got a bad trip last week. Look, it's pretty talented. The Barclay Ellis team was going strong. I would actually expect Kirsten to press the go button early. I reckon she can try and get across them here, and if she finds the front with Chuckles, I think it's going to be really hard to beat. What did you find for us down at Invercargill on Thursday?
Yeah, well, obviously I agreed with Chuckles, and it was a big market move on it 3 starts ago. First up, I'm pretty sure it was maybe double figures into favourite, and it ran 4th. It was massive. It drew the back line. So obviously I left that one to be your best bet, Matty, so I had to go find another one. In race 3, I found number 11, Major Punter. First starter, Tony Stratford, 2-year-old Art Major. I believe, if I'm right, it's Graham Anderson in the ownership, because he did have a trial in North Otago, this horse, and then has been sent to Invercargill, and he trialled really good the other day. He's green, but I don't think it'll affect him. Blair Orange is going to take the drive, and in this trial, as I say, he was a bit green, and when he went to step the wheel, he just wanted to get in a bit and get out a bit, but when he really knuckled down, it was only the last 200 that he knuckled down and showed a really nice turn of foot, and I think they run home and touch under 27 there, or just over 27. So he only ran a quick furlong, and I think he'll be, even despite a back row draw, I think he'll be too fast for them, hopefully.
Yeah, fair enough. Pretty nice horse judging by its workouts and trials runs, that's for sure. Addington kicks in Friday night for the first of 2 meetings there for the weekend, as we have had since lockdown. I'm going to go to later in the night, race 10, number 5, a horse called Majestic Lavros from the Mark Jones stable. They've got a pretty big opinion of this horse. Mark's team's kicking a few goals at the moment. He's got a nice team in on Friday night. Look, no drivers down at the moment. I'm really interested to see what Sam Otley does, because, of course, she's got the very talented Vacation Hill that she normally drives in that race as well. I would imagine her loyalty to the Jones stable might just see her take the drive on Majestic Lavros, especially knowing the opinion they've got on it. So I was quite keen on it. Fresh up, its trial run was really good. So race 10, number 5, Majestic Lavros. How about you, Fitzy?
Yeah, this week I've made use of the Stride Master. As always, I like to check the Stride Master that Addington Raceway produced, and I found one that was lightning quick on the Stride Master. Cracker Brie, race 3, number 11. Really good run last time, only beaten a short margin. Was the only runner in the field to break 2 minutes for the last mile. In a similar field this week. Drawn to the second row, so I'm expecting her to get a really good run through from the second line and be a bit handier than she was last week, and I think she'll be too good for them for Friday night at the Met. But then we've got Sunday at the Met as well, as has become the norm of late. In race 3, I'm going to go for number 2, Magical Ideal. Once again, Stride Master selection here, because this last mile, 158.8 last time, small field. It's not a talented field. It's they're small fields, roughly 9 to 10 on Sunday, and I think he'll be too good for them.
Okay, I went to race 4, number 6, Pat's Dragon. Thought it got into a nice small field. Good beginner from the stand. If it can ping across and find the markers, I thought it was going well enough that it could win on Sunday. So that's our best for the weekend. Been a big show, Fitzy. We've covered a bit of territory and we've waffled probably longer than we should. Just one public service announcement for me, and it's probably more pertaining to anyone in the Canterbury and South Canterbury areas. Nationals racing spokesperson Ian McKelvey. I've managed to be able to get him to come down, courtesy of my local MP Andrew Fitzgerald, to the Ashburton Trials next Tuesday. Ian's going to spend a bit of time walking around the stabling block, talking to trainers and owners and breeders about all things harness racing. But we're also going to hold a bit of a sit-down meeting post that. I'll get the exact information. We're not sure exactly what time, because we want to make sure it's after the last heat. But we might share it out on the Off and Racing channel if we can, Fitzy. But just anyone out there who wants to, come and hear the political talk on racing from a different perspective than our esteemed racing minister of current national racing spokesperson Ian McKelvey will be at the Ashburton Trials next Tuesday. So looking forward to catching up with him. We might even try and grab him for a bit of a chat, Fitzy, and just get his views on the industry from a different perspective. So yeah, that's next Tuesday at the Ashburton Trials. But until then, I think we can safely sign off for another week. So I'll say toodaloo to you, Fitzy, and toodaloo to everyone out there, and looking forward to another big week of harness racing.
Yeah, we better sign off, Matty. I think we've ticked over our longest show here, but hey, it was expected when we got into the real nitty-gritty stuff. But see you next Tuesday. We'll see you this weekend anyway, but see you next Tuesday for that chat with Ian McKelvey. That's a pretty big scoop there, really, to get him along, and it's a good opportunity for all the harness racing folk to chat to someone who is in a position of power, and will be open to hearing our thoughts. So yeah, we'll try and bring a wee interview there with him, and if not, we'll definitely bring that sit down discussion with him. We'll try and get that recorded and posted up for everyone to see.
Perfect. Until then, see you later.